All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go from Zolder. Giancarlo and Adam Barker on the front row. Nick Sorensen, Wessel Stevens on the second row. Andrew Lau, Dylan Steinbach have the third row. Mike Marshall and Simon Zierk on the fourth. Mike Doling and Xander round out the field. Hey, good morning, Jason. It is weird to see a field without any member of Team Gunther on track. And there is Hello Kitty back in the field this morning. And there you can see the debris being flung up back behind. We've talked about it the last couple of weeks. iRacing implementing that new debris system could be a huge factor for this league this season. There you see some more debris on that back straightaway coming from out of that turn where they do swing a bit wide. It does throw some dirt up. Even the pace car throwing up some debris this morning. First couple laps with all these tight 90-degree turns is definitely going to get interesting. Giancarlo will lead the field off. You can see how tight the track is here this morning as well. Not just those turns, which are extremely tight, but the track not that wide will make passing very, very exciting today. Porsche pace car is on pit road. Out of the final turn, here we go. Green flag is in the air. They are underway at Zolder. And Giancarlo quickly shoots to the lead there, gets single file through part of the field. Andrew Lau, Nick Sorensen still side by side. Lau trying to pull ahead. Dylan Steinbach back behind. Dylan in the Mustang this morning. That is a gutsy call. Mike Doling at the back of the field, but don't expect him to stay there very long. We'll see him make his way up through the field. Giancarlo with clear track ahead, starting to open up a bit of a gap already. Sorensen in the Acura, as well as Xander in that Acura. We've only seen it in one race last week. It looked extremely fast, and the driver said very well balanced. We'll see how it plays out as the season goes on, but Giancarlo leads lap one at Zolder and has a 1.7 second lead over Adam Barker already as Lau is wide. Lau recovers, gets back on track. Sorensen pulls back up into fourth. Wessel Stevens now up to third. Oh, Sorensen got off into the sand. Lau gets the run. Andrew Lau back up into fourth place. Xander on the attack. Looks like he is going to pass the Corvette of Mike Marshall. And looks like we had a few incidents on that first lap. Let's take a quick look. There's Andrew Lau coming through that first couple of turns, just goes wide off into the dirt. He does lose a little bit of ground as we saw. Then Nick Sorensen in the new Acura. Oh, a little too much of the curbing, goes wide and throws a, wow. Gets a little squirrely, throws a lot of debris. Giancarlo set the fastest lap so far last time by. Giancarlo's lead now 2 seconds over Adam Barker. Wessel Stevens just a half second behind Barker at the moment and closing in. Andrew Lau sitting in fourth. Nick Sorensen in fifth. Dylan Steinbach in sixth. Xander now up 3 spots into seventh after not being able to score a qualifying lap. Xander already on the march. Mike Marshall currently in 8th. Simon Zierk in 9th. Mike Doling back in 10th. Not a surprise to see Giancarlo already opening up a lead now, 2 1/4 seconds over Barker. Wessel still lurking right behind Barker. Lau starting to close in. He's just 2 seconds back. Definitely a lot of debris. You see rocks flying everywhere. Debris could be a huge problem for the drivers this season. Jason, when was that? I didn't see it. Dylan Steinbach back in 6th has closed up on Sorensen and Lau. These 3 cars seem to be fairly evenly matched at the moment. Giancarlo apparently going out of his way to not get into the debris. As we saw earlier, you come out of that debris and it definitely has a bigger effect now on the tires and on the car. And apparently to some degree, debris being thrown at the car can cause a bit of a problem. Sorensen currently sits in 5th. As he heads toward the final chicane, let's take a lap around Zolder with Sorensen. Into that final chicane toward the start-finish line. There you see the entrance to pit road that we will definitely see come into play in race 2, and you see the debris being thrown up everywhere. Down into the first turn. Back on the pole, a little bit of a bobble. The track is looking dirty out there. It is taking away some of the grip. On to the next straightaway. We've seen a lot of guys go off here already this morning. Full power. Then hard on the brakes into the chicane. You cutting as much as possible. Into the next chicane, back on the power. This one is not an easy track to get a handle on. Into the right-hander, then the small chicane here. A little bit of a short straight into the final chicane. And then out of the final turn, back onto the power to the start-finish line. Sorensen did that lap in a 1:29.92. Meanwhile, Giancarlo out front continues to check out. His lead now 3.3 seconds over Barker. Wessel still lurking in third. He has lost a little bit of ground. He's now 1.3 seconds back. Andrew Lau in fourth was gaining ground on the top three, has started falling back. He's now about 2.5 seconds back. Sorensen another 1.5 seconds behind him, and Steinbach closing in as well by about 1.5 seconds back for him. Xander now at 3 spots into 7th. Mike Marshall currently holds on to 8th. Simon Zierk in 9th, and a huge surprise, seeing Mike Dolling stuck back in 10th. Really surprised that McLaren has been so fast. Really surprised to see it so far back this morning. The only other McLaren on track currently sitting in third, driven by Wessel Stevens. Jason, yeah. Okay, I got you now, buddy. I've slept since then. Giancarlo's lead holding about 3.8 seconds. There are parts of this track where Barker is closing the gap just a little bit, but the vast majority of it has Giancarlo pulling away. Wessel Stevens in third, Andrew Lau fourth, and Sorensen in fifth. Lau is closing the gap on Wessel at the moment. Now remember, going into race 2, the top 7 will invert. That means as of right now, Xander will start on the pole for race 2. However, Xander is closing back in on Steinbach at the moment. But he is still about 3 seconds back. Will he have enough time to get there? Looks like quite a bit of the field is actually at the moment spread out. Lau still trying to close the gap on Wessel in 3rd place. Lau now just under 2 seconds behind. Just under 7 minutes to go in race 1. He's got to pick it up. And while the Ferrari has had the advantage in the straight line for several seasons, when that new McLaren came out, it definitely has a lot of straight line speed as well. Xander still closing in on the Ford of Dylan Steinbach. And Mike Dawling sitting back in 10th is just a huge shock this morning. We'll see if he can turn things around in race 2. Mike Marshall up in 8th. They have to deal with Simon here in a moment. Simon about 7/10 of a second back and closing in. Giancarlo's lead now 4.7 seconds over Barker. Wessel just 1.9 seconds back. And Wessel has pulled a little bit of a gap on Andrew Lau, now 3 seconds. Sorensen, meanwhile, has closed within 1.5 seconds. Mike Marshall may be able to hold Simon off for the remainder of the race. That Corvette definitely has more power off the line and out of the turns than the BMW. Adam Barker sitting in second, 5 seconds behind Giancarlo at the moment. Wessel now just 1.8 seconds back in third. Lau falling even further back, but Sorensen less than a second behind. And Sorensen is just about caught up to Lau. 3.5 minutes to go. He might get a shot at this. Sorensen definitely pushing the car to the limit, going to the track limits as well. Adam Barker has put a little more space between him and Wessel, now holding at 1.8 seconds. Wessel was gaining on Barker for just a little bit. And Sorensen right on the bumper of Andrew Lau, but can he get by? Giancarlo coming through the final chicane out onto the front straightaway. His lead at the line, 5.6 seconds. Interesting that the lone Porsche in the field driven by Giancarlo is so dominant here this morning. With Team Gunther not here this morning, him being the only Porsche out here, would we have seen a Porsche-dominated race had Team Gunther shown up? He will have to start race 2 from 7th. We'll get to see how that Porsche handles the traffic. Back into the final chicane for Giancarlo. And he should see the white flag this time. White flag is in the air. One more time around for Giancarlo, and what has turned out to just be a Sunday cruise for him. Adam Barker back in the Hello Kitty car, sitting in second. Has a 2-second gap now on Wessel. The battle's still on for 4th and 5th. Lau still holds on to 4th. No problems for Giancarlo at the far end of the track. Lau has a little bit of breathing room coming through the chicane. And down the straightaway toward the final chicane, once again, Giancarlo is on top. He will win race 1 at Zolder. Adam Barker comes home in second. Wessel Stevens finishes third. And they pile into the barrier. Let's talk with our... Wow! Wessel got some air there. Let's talk to our top 3, starting with Wessel Stevens. Wessel, congratulations. You come home with a podium, and it looked like had this race gone a little longer, you might have had a shot at Adam.
Adam was really quick today as well, so I'm not sure about that. But it was a great race overall. A little bit boring, but yeah.
Well, going into the invert, you're going to have to come through a lot more traffic.
Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot make it the second race, so it will not be the case. Maybe next week.
Well, congratulations. A great morning, buddy.
See you, man. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, Chrissy. How you doing, buddy? And let's see if we can get a word with second place Adam Barker. Adam back
balls over here.
Adam back in the Hello Kitty car. I really expected to see you closer to the front.
Yeah, just Giancarlo was crazy fast. There's no response for that. Wessel was very aggressive from the start as well, which meant was put on the back foot, attacking from the start, but then just settled into a rhythm, trying to keep the car out of the walls. Hope for a mistake, but nothing came. So it's going to be interesting coming from sixth. Giancarlo's on the row behind, so he's got to get past us. So hopefully we can keep him behind for at least a little while and see what happens ahead with some pretty quick guys ahead of us as well.
I have to say, obviously, the new debris system in place, and it was very pronounced here this morning. Was the debris causing any issues, especially coming out of some of these turns?
I don't think me and Giancarlo really had that much issue because we were running just 1-2, not really kicking up much dust. But I think in the pack where people are getting their elbows out, I think it's a bit more of an issue. I didn't see much of it, but I think we're going to be right in the thick of it to start with. So it's going to be a interesting one when we're fighting out in the middle of the pack.
Well, great job! Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Giancarlo back on top. Giancarlo back on top in victory lane. Not a huge surprise.
It was all just at the start. I think Adam and Wessel started fighting a bit, and I was just able to pull away and find a consistent pace, which was great.
It's definitely interesting. I was talking to Adam a moment ago. You guys did not see much of the new debris system, but it's going to come into play in the second race.
Yep, it makes everything a lot more dynamic, extends braking zones, reduces grip on exit, so just gotta be even more careful than usual starting in the middle of the pack.
Well, now it is an interesting situation. Adam is the defending champ. You're looking at being back for the whole season, and once again it's you and Adam at the top of the leaderboard. I know it's early in the season, but we have seen this countless times. Will we see another battle between you two for a championship this season?
Hopefully. It's always fun to battle with Adam throughout, in each race and throughout the whole season. So if that's what this one's going to be, then I'm looking forward to it.
Well, he's got like 7 championships so far. You've got like 4. You're going to have to balance the equation.
Yeah, definitely.
Congratulations, man. Good luck with the traffic.
Thanks, Doug.
Giancarlo pulls off the win in race 1. Now's where things do get interesting as the top 7 invert. Giancarlo will start in 7th place. Adam Barker will start in 6th, and they're going to have to come through traffic and through all the debris. And it's great to see Hello Kitty back on track this morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Race 2. We'll see Dylan Steinbach and Xander on the front row. Nick Sorensen, Andrew Lau on the second row. Wessel Stevens, Adam Barker on the third row. Giancarlo, after winning race 1, starting back in 7th. Mike Marshall in 8th. Simon Zierk in 9th. And Mike Dolling in 10th. No issues, Dazzy. I think it was just the delay there. Wessel Stevens not taking the grid, as we heard. That is a badly placed sign or a badly placed camera. I will talk to the production crew about it. And an interesting thing, we're going to ride along with Mike Marshall and see if this is the correct paint. No. One of Adam Barker's Hello Kitty paint schemes actually has a heavily armed Hello Kitty on the car. We'll have to talk to him about making sure that paint scheme is back next week. Dylan Steinbach starting up front. I do believe this is the first time we have seen a Mustang on the pole. The question is, can it make it to turn 1 before it spontaneously combusts? New Acura, 2 of them in the field, driven by Xander and Sorensen, currently sitting 2nd and 3rd. What can they do if they get some clean air? We've yet to see one out front. The driver said last week, a very well balanced, they called it, they said rather, that car is in the Cinderella zone on handling and speed. We'll see what it can do if it can get the clean air. Pace car dives into pit road. And out of the turn they fire and are away. Green flag is in the air. And already Giancarlo making a move up the inside. Steinbach out front, Xander and Nick 2nd and 3rd. Andrew currently in 4th. Adam pulls back into 5th. Once it all shook out, Giancarlo only got to 6th. As they go single file. You heard Giancarlo say, race 2 is going to be a bit tricky here. Back in the field, all that debris, less grip in the turns. Steinbach continues to lead. The two Acuras right on his bumper as they come into the final chicane. Oh, a little bobble for the Ford, but he holds on to it and will lead lap 1. And we're all shocked the Ford actually survived a lap. Adam Barker, Giancarlo back in 5th and 6th. This harkens back to some of the early seasons of NSS when we saw these two do battle week in, week out, championship after championship. There was a good year and a half where these two swapped the championship every season. Giancarlo keeps trying to set up for the pass. Looks like the Ferrari driven by Andrew Lau seems to be struggling a little bit this morning. He is losing ground on the top 3. He was very fast in race 1. Ended up bringing it home in 4th place. Just hasn't been able to find the pace to put himself back into the top 3. Simon Zierk also on the move. Simon now up a couple of spots into 7th. Mike Marshall in 8th. Mike Dolling on his bumper in 9th. And Xander set the fastest lap so far in the first lap. Oh, that got a little spicy. Oh, Nick Sorensen took the chicane a little harder than he intended, jumped it off the sausage. Giancarlo has gotten past Adam Barker, now up into 5th place and on the bumper of Andrew Lau. Porsche versus Ferrari, a tale as old as time. Xander starts to peak on the leader, can't get the move into turn 1. That Ford appears to need a little bit more room to brake, as we saw in the last lap. A few close calls. With the two cars back behind, things got a little spicy a couple of times. Xander tries to set up to the inside, but can't get the run. Meanwhile, Giancarlo just lurking right behind Lau's Ferrari. The Porsche versus Ferrari thing has been going on since the beginning of time. Every boy in their youth had one or the other they would rather have. In fact, drop in the comments when you were a teenager, which car did you prefer? As we've got a battle for the lead, Xander finally gets the run. Dylan has the inside through the next turn. Oh no! Contact! Xander is off track. Sorensen gets a piece. Andrew Lau slips by and takes the lead. Giancarlo to second. What a turn of events, and Steinbach is still in the fight. Barker just jumped the chicane. They are 3 wide into the next turn. Barker had a slowdown. Looked like Sorensen did as well. Simon sneaks up. Simon now to 4th. And let's take a look back at the incident that started this very odd chain of events. The 2 Acuras on the outside. Elvis Steinbach looks like he just barely pushes out into Xander. See if the blimp caught this one. Maybe. There they go off into the turn. Dylan pushes out as Xander comes in. Wow. Ouch is definitely right, Dazzy, and now we have Xander on pit road. Andrew Lau has the lead, but Giancarlo on his bumper in second. Folks, don't forget 9:30 Eastern here tonight. SMR Gen 4 Racing is back. BRR still off for the holidays. They will return next Sunday. Dylan Steinbach still in 3rd, but Barker on his bumper. Simon now in 5th. Sorensen slipped back to 6th. Can he make his way back toward the front? Mike Marshall currently in 7th. Doling in 8th. And Xander is out of the race. Meanwhile, Barker set the fastest lap, that time by 128.89. Giancarlo peeked on Lau for a moment, did not take a move. Steinbach and Barker back behind, but only about 1.6 seconds back, trying to close the gap. The top 2 start battling. This could become a 4-car race in the blink of an eye. Simon Ziert just 2.4 seconds back. Sorensen on his bumper. The Ferrari has an advantage on the straights, but the Porsche is definitely better through the turns. And this track is definitely showing the strengths and weaknesses of both cars. Adam Barker still on Steinbach's back bumper. Giancarlo still is not gone for the attack. Jason Coleman predicts Giancarlo for the win this morning. With the straightaways and sharp turns here, definitely an interesting balance between the two cars. Don't forget, next Sunday morning, be here, same bat time, same bat channel, as the GT3 NSS takes the cars to Australia. They will go to Mount Panorama. That is definitely a love or hate track at Bathurst. I can tell you, I love to broadcast there, and I absolutely hate driving it. It will be a lot of fun. Budsy, you definitely got it right. Dylan Steinbach in third, still holding about 1.6 seconds back. Does gain a little ground on the straightaways. Simon Zierk, Nick Sorensen, and Mike Marshall about actually just under 3 seconds behind Barker. It does seem like both Giancarlo and Adam Barker are not making the moves to take the position yet. The moment that Giancarlo goes on the attack, Dylan and Barker will catch up. And the moment those two start battling, Simon, Nick, and Mike are whoa! Nick went a wee bit wide. Nick Sorensen on the attack. He's going to take 5th place back from Simon. Mike Marshall almost got the nose in, but couldn't quite close the gap. Giancarlo still lurking on the back bumper of Andrew Lau. Adam Barker still right behind. And now the question is, can Sorensen close in on the leaders? And let's take a ride with Mike Marshall. We've been talking about today a lot the new debris system. We've seen it come into play. The track, as we heard, has a little bit less grip. You see rocks and dirt flying everywhere. And you can hear the rocks hitting the car. And yes, that is supposed to have an impact on the car. When they get to a track that they're throwing even more rocks onto the car, could cause damage. iRacing just gets more and more realistic and better every day. Lau continues to lead. Remember, they will have pit stops. They do not have enough fuel to make it to the end. They will have to make a stop before this race is over, and that strategy could be the deciding factor here this morning. Nick Sorensen likely to try something dramatic. He was up at the front early on, but that incident set him back. He is trying to fight his way back up. We know Giancarlo will stretch to the limit on fuel. This could come down to, will they change tires? With the cloud cover overhead all morning, the track temperature has remained cool. The tires may be okay. Mike Marshall has had a problem back behind. There's Mike in the lone Corvette this morning. Oh, comes out of the rumble strips. Take another look at this. It was a bit of debris there. Get another angle on this. There is Marshall. Oh, he did cut into the grass on the apex. Ends up in the wall. Does look like he got a little bit of damage to the nose, but should be okay. Lau continues to lead as we close in on the halfway point. Dylan Steinbach and Adam Barker still about 2.5 seconds back. They have lost a little bit of ground on the lead too. Nick Sorensen is closing in on Barker. He is now just over 2 seconds behind. The drivers were talking about the most recent rescan of Zolder and how the track is definitely better for the car, especially cutting through the chicanes. They can hit them a little bit harder without getting wrecked. Giancarlo had an off track a moment ago. He has lost a lot of time to the leader. There's Giancarlo on the back bumper of Andrew Lau. Oh, on the power too soon in the turn. Goes off in the grass, recovers, but now 3 seconds behind. Andrew Lau's lead currently 2.7 seconds. Giancarlo also fell back. Dylan Steinbach and Adam Barker got a heck of a lot closer. But Giancarlo is not slowing down. At the line, he is going to be 2.1 seconds behind. He's already gained most of a second on the leader. Will that change his strategy on pit road, having to run him down and use up the tires more? Giancarlo also just set the fastest lap of the morning, 128.43. That was 0.4 of a second faster than the previous fastest lap. I think that Porsche might have a little extra left in it. Of course, in the past, we have seen Giancarlo come from further behind. Nick Sorensen in 5th was gaining ground on Barker, and Steinbach. He has now slipped back 3 seconds. Simon Zierk back in 6th, Mike Dolling in 7th, Mike Marshall in 8th. Dolling in the McLaren really struggling this morning. Bit of a surprise to see Dolling struggling anywhere. Mike Dolling has had a problem. Oh, Mike just went a little wide. Coming through the first couple of turns, just goes a little wide, gets the dirt, the back end goes around. A rough morning for the Minister of Defense. Hey, good morning, Nishi. Lau's lead continues to shrink. Giancarlo now just 1.25 seconds back. Holy cow. Mike Dolling is the first driver on pit road, likely getting repairs. Getting his pit stop out of the way early. Just past the halfway point, we could see everybody on pit road at any moment. Dylan Steinbach is in. Sorensen stays out. Simon Zierk is in. Mike Marshall will stay out, so 2 drivers in so far. And Giancarlo has caught up to Andrew Lau. Dylan Steinbach has had a problem. There it was, diving into pit road. Well, it doesn't look like he had any issues getting onto pit road. The top 2 continue to stay out. Adam Barker in 3rd stays out. Sorensen in 4th also stays out. Mike Marshall now up into 5th. Mike Marshall may have had a problem. See what happened. Looks like he was headed to pit road. Nope, looks like he made it to pit road just fine. How are you this morning, Nishi? The top 2 continue to stay out. They go past pit road. Adam Barker stays out in 3rd. Sorensen stays out in 4th. I'm doing great. Steinbach, Simon Zierk, Mike Marshall all having completed their stops. Mike Dolling officially out of the race. A rough morning for him. You know, we did not get to see a lot of the new debris system last week at the Nürburgring, but this week here at Zolder, they have definitely demonstrated it quite well. And you can see the track getting a little bit dirtier. Now, will we see any stops this time? Andrew Lau gives up the lead. He is in. Giancarlo takes the lead for the first time. Adam Barker is in. Nick Sorensen also on pit road. Hey, good morning, MZ. No problem. How are you this morning? Giancarlo now out front. Looks like a mix of tire change and no tire change this morning. So the battle between Lau and Giancarlo could come down to, does Giancarlo take tires? He will dive into pit road. Riding along on Giancarlo's nose cam. This is definitely a tricky pit road to enter. Comes down looking for his team. He hits his pit stall. The car does not go up. There will not be a tire change. Andrew Lau's coming out of the final turn. Giancarlo is headed out. It's going to be close. And Giancarlo has the lead as he exits pit road. Giancarlo also had the shortest stop of the morning and now has about a 3.8 second lead over Lau. Adam Barker back in third. Nick Sorensen in fourth. Dylan Steinbach in fifth as Simon in sixth, closing in. Mike Marshall now into seventh. With 15 minutes left to go, we saw Giancarlo with the big lead in race one, just out for a Sunday cruise. Will it be the same for the final few minutes of this race? He has only made one mistake so far this morning. Does Andrew Lau have enough to run him down? Can Nick Sorensen back in fourth rather, close the gap on third place? Adam Barker. It has been great to see Hello Kitty back in the fight this morning. Unfortunately, not the heavily armed Hello Kitty we're used to, but Giancarlo's lead holding at 4.5 seconds over Lau Adam Barker about 5 seconds back in third. Sorensen 2.6 seconds back in fourth. Steinbach in fifth. Simon Zierk in sixth. And Mike Marshall in seventh. Giancarlo has definitely been the dominant force all morning. As we mentioned early on, Adam Barker came into the morning with the points lead. As they run now, Giancarlo will likely claim the points lead by just a few points. Going into next week at Bathurst, things are going to be close. And it is starting to shape up like a classic season with a huge battle between Giancarlo and Adam Barker all season long. Adam Barker heading off into turn one. Adam has had a very consistent morning and has come through the early chaos without a problem. Just has not been able to close the gap. He is actually gaining ground at the moment on second place, Andrew Lau. But he is still about 4.5 seconds back with 11 minutes left to go. Giancarlo, meanwhile, extending his lead 5.5 seconds. Andrew Lau continuing to put down some fast laps, but just unable to close the gap. Adam continuing to close the gap on Lau, but likely not going to have enough time. Nick Sorensen back in fourth. Dylan Steinbach still holds on to fifth. Simon Zierk was closing the gap on Steinbach, but has now slipped 4.25 seconds back. Mike Marshall up to seventh after avoiding the problems early. And Mike Marshall has had a problem. Oh, the back end just stepping out. We've seen a lot of cars have problems through that turn. Likely a lot of debris out on the track right there, but he quickly recovers and gets going again. Giancarlo has dominated this morning. A bit of a surprise for the Porsche to be doing so well with the straightaways here. The Porsche has struggled the last few seasons with straight line speed. So it is a bit shocking to see the car doing so well with the long straightaway and high speed stretches on this track. Adam Barker in third is chipping away at Lau. He is now 2.5 seconds back. Adam may still have a shot at second place. Nick Sorensen in third, now 3.5 seconds back. Steinbach back in fifth. Simon, after losing a lot of ground, is just maintaining pace. Mike Marshall continues to hold on in seventh. Adam has definitely turned it up to 11 in the Audi. Now just 2.25 seconds behind second place Andrew Lau. Giancarlo's lead now almost 8 seconds over Lau. That lead likely to grow if Barker can get to Lau to battle for second. Giancarlo continuing to pull away. Barker is now just 1.6 seconds behind Lau. They're only going to have a few laps left to settle this. Giancarlo picks up the white flag one more time around. His lead now 8.1 seconds and the battle is on for second. Barker just 1.5 seconds back. He continues to gain ground, but can he get there in time? Down the straightaway now just 1.3 seconds back. Whoa! He is definitely hitting the chicanes hard now. Lost a little bit of ground there. Now just 1 1/4 seconds back, but not much room left to get it done. As Giancarlo hits the final chicane, he will get it done this morning. Giancarlo is going to pull off the sweep at Zolder. Andrew Lau will hold on to second. Barker finishes in third, 1 second back. And let's talk to our top three, starting with Barker. Adam,
My wheels is out of alignment.
Yeah, I would say your wheel is out of alignment just a bit. Man, that was one heck of a run late in the race. You really closed the gap on Andrew quickly.
Yeah, I was a bit unlucky at the start of the race. Made a few little bit of mistakes, let Giancarlo through, and I was a little bit fortunate with the crash. I managed to get through there. A couple of little mistakes just meant I was a few seconds off. But when I was behind Dylan, I was just able to save a little bit of fuel every lap. I was a little bit nicer to the tyres, and meant I had a little bit more grip towards the end. If it had gone to time instead of laps, that could have been interesting with me and Andrew for second, but just ran out of time, unfortunately.
Well, still a great run today. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Andrew Lau comes home in second. Andrew, I really thought the Ferrari would have a bit of an advantage here.
Maybe it does, but I don't.
It was still one heck of a run. How much were you watching your mirrors the last part of that one?
I'm pretty sure I cooked my tires in both stints, actually, so my pace was really bad, but I knew it was, if Adam was going to catch up, it was probably not going to be possible to get an overtake done around here. Just seeing how he was able to keep Giancarlo back behind me, even though he's like a second and a lap faster. It's just really tough to get a pass done.
Well, man, still an awesome run this morning. You come home back on the podium. Congratulations, buddy.
Thanks, Doug.
And finally, our winner with the sweep, Giancarlo, no surprise, back on top with the sweep this morning.
Yeah, that was I think that was kind of a fortunate race for me with Dylan and Xander getting into it, and then I was able to just save some fuel behind Andrew and get the overcut.
Now, does the Porsche we've talked about the last few seasons lacks in straight line speed? Honestly expected that to be a big problem here this morning.
It was. There were a few times that I thought I could get up potentially alongside Andrew and go for an actual pass, but just no luck with it. I could never get a run, so I decided I had to just sit back and save the fuel.
Well, it still paid off, worked perfectly. You pull off the sweep, man. Great run today. Congrats.
Thanks, Doug.
Giancarlo gets the win, folks. Don't forget, 9:30 Eastern tonight. SMR Gen 4 is back. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and YouTube. Hope you guys had as much fun as we did this morning. We'll see you tonight. Have a great day, everybody.